welcome everybody. Today is August 17th, and we're here for the Recreation Advisory Board meeting. First, we have a quorum, so I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 5:35 p.m. Welcome everybody. Before we get to the approval of the agenda, we do have the one thing of the taking of the minutes for today. So I don't know how we'll do that, but if anybody's interested, feel free to speak up. If not, I can take care of that.
I can try and take some notes as we go.
If you want to take notes and we can collaborate, I think that will work out pretty well because we have the video. Okay, so everybody has the agenda. The only thing I have to add or actually subtract is I wasn't able to get the minutes for June out, so we'll go ahead and look at those for our meeting in September, which I have our next date is the 21st. But we do have the July minutes, so that will be the only thing. If anybody else has anything they'd like to, okay. With that said, we can go ahead and approve the agenda. If anyone wants to make a motion.
Make a motion.
A second.
All right. Thank you. Let it be noted that the agenda is approved. And now moving on to the approval of the minutes for July. Everybody had a chance to look them over?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll second that. Thank you. Okay, well, as we go to our new business, I want to say welcome. It's nice to have someone in the seats out there. Was there anything that you were wanting to bring up? Because this new business section that we have is called Community Member Insights.
Okay.
And that's where it's nice to get a feel for what's going on and what we can do to help or at least let you be heard.
All help will be appreciated, let's say, put it that way.
Okay.
My name is Richard Abel. I'm at 48 Strathmore Boulevard here in Athens. And over the years, the city has first got Sells Park, probably back in the 30s, which is a pond, a small parking area. Used to have a restroom, but vandalism closed that. And access to trails up around the Athens Trail and all of the other areas. And as a member of FENA's board, we've been discussing Sells Park off and on and talking to the recreation director and other people. And part of what we are thinking about is that we'd like to see the expansion of the recreation programs into the other areas that were purchased 20-some years ago through grant funds and local funds and city funds. The first one of those was from the Corporation from Ohio Appalachia, which was, if you're familiar with where Townsend Drive is, and it ends there, and then the next thing up on the hill is COAD. And COAD was having some monetary difficulties, so the city put together a grant asking for to purchase property from them. We wound up purchasing about 70 acres, which goes up over the hill and goes to the left, which is all of the backyards of Townsend Drive and the backyards of Pleasant View. And so that was and adjacent to Sells Park, So it was really a fairly major expansion, but we never really did anything from the standpoint of developing it. The next grant, I think, that we went after to do was the one by Hope Drive. And Hope Drive apartments out there, and that land became available, and it would link us to where the city's water tower is up there, and there was access, and so we purchased another 70-some acres. Most of these purchases were where the city was only putting up $10,000 or $15,000, and so it was good. And then we found out that in the original purchase of COAD, we had a portion of what's called Hawks Woods, which is one of the 10 old-growth forests in the state of Ohio. It takes about 15 or 16 acres up. We got about 7 acres or so of that at that time. Well, the owners of the rest of it and going down in that area sold it to a firm called Riddle up in Laurelville, Ohio, who forested timber. That was their business, and along with furniture making. But so we contacted them, and as things developed, we got the Athens Conservancy involved and some others. We were into discussions. I went up to Laurelville and talked to the owners, and we wound up with I think for $6,000 by the time we did all the in-kind stuff and everything else. We purchased another 70, 80 acres that got the rest of Hawk Woods and adjoining the state of Ohio. So altogether, when you add in Sells Park, we probably own as a city 280 acres or so of property, all along East State Street, which helps protect the view shed and some other things. We tried to get some other properties, but those were the only ones that worked and we were successful on. But it does give us the idea that the Athens Conservancy has expanded the bike paths, the access to the trails that Scouts run are there now, and we have not developed really any other access points to those trails other than Sells Park. But we own all this land, and which is outside of the city. So we, as a group living in the Far East Side, say, why don't we develop some other facilities? And then we saw or heard in the paper that, I guess at a council meeting, that someone's trying to develop this 7 acres right at the end of Hope Drive that we decided, the city council decided, not to purchase because it was what I call a barrel pit where they hauled all the dirt and everything out and used it for fill elsewhere. And so they didn't think that with the trees and everything else, that you have in a nature park, that was, we should really buy that. Well, now they're talking about 35 units or something like that of senior citizen housing back there. And, as a senior, I can't object to that. But, and anyway, it gives us the idea again of how can we try to have additional places, because we all know that Sells Park has about 6 or 7 parking places. It's not very big. There isn't even a sign up there at there saying additional parking available at community center. Just walk down Avon Place and you hit it. We got lots of parking there. And if you're going for bikes and you're going hiking, it's not too much further to walk up Avon Place to Sells Park and get on the trails. And we hate to see, in a way, taking all of the flat land that's down there and making it a bigger parking lot. Asphalt doesn't really get me with parks and everything. So it's just something that I wanted to bring up to the Recreation Board, that we are a group of we've got about 100 members in our Far East Side Neighborhood Association. We've been around for 11 years, and we just want to see more access. We don't want to limit, people going to Sells Park or anything like that, but can we look at that additional 200 plus acres that the city purchased over the years and say how we could do it? I mean, the hard story of it is that I had a deal all set up with the state of Ohio about Stroud's Run. Lost the council vote 4-3. or we would have had about 4,500 more acres up there. But, you know, that's water over the dam, so to speak. That was one of their concerns, was how do you replace it? But a lot of years ago, we did a lot of those things, but we haven't had, you know, the pandemic came and a lot of other things, and we just couldn't develop things back in 2008 and 9 and such like that. It just wasn't possible to do. So that's our idea from out there, and just to have you, you know, be aware of it, and hopefully there's a way we can get more done this time. That's all. Any questions?
I do have a question, and maybe I missed it, and I apologize. First off, thanks for coming. I don't
Okay.
know that we've ever met. I'm Annie Valent. Nice to meet
Okay.
you. Did you have recommendations on specific access points? And if you did and I missed that, I apologize.
No,
but-
I think the only one that I really think about is there's two access points that are potential. One is in the Hope Drive property, because we do have a city right-of-way that goes up to the water tower and everything. So we would have access to be able to get something done up there, but it is also a city street. And on a city street, you're allowed to park on the city street unless it's a no parking sign there. So I would think that as we go by the parking lots of Hope Drive for the apartments there, that maybe one side could have parking and we automatically pick up 10 spaces or something. And, you know, some adequate signage and everything for it. The other possibility is behind the Ohio University Credit Union. A large amount of property is owned by a private individual, Jim
McLaren. Jim McLaren.
Yeah, Jim McLaren. He has granted, I believe, John Nowsa told me, he granted the Athens Conservancy a easement through his land to get to the trails. But we'd have to also talk to, all of that's pretty well developed. But it is there, and if it does exist, then we could confirm that with the Conservancy District. Those would be two other points, because the land on there's a drive between Don Wood's Toyota dealership and the original Athens Mall, and that Pinchot Lane just goes up to their parking lot. But I don't know if you could work out something with respect to the weekends, because they're closed, or after 5 o'clock at night. Would they have a problem, you know, with some access at those particular points in times or holidays?
You're referring to where Coad is?
Yes.
Right there?
Mm-hmm. Because
Isn't
that would,
there, isn't where, on Jim McLaren's property, isn't there an access right there into those trails?
that's what I think. He is
I'm
granted
thinking there is,
Athens
right?
Conservancy an
Okay.
access through his property.
Right.
He owns well over 100 acres up in through there. And it borders the park.
He owns like from East State Street back.
Well, he
doesn't
sold the land to the credit union, and they consolidated some of the Robinson Trailer Park there, because that was done, maybe 15 years ago,
Okay.
or more. But he kept all of the other property.
Right.
If you call up, if you want to explore kind of what all of that is, it could be like I was this afternoon. I just typed in on the search engine, you know, Athens County GIS, and it came up to the auditor's site, and I went to the GIS maps, that area of town, and just started clicking away, and I could see, well, this is where the city owns, this is who owns this, etc. So you can, and it's a map, but it doesn't have, I can't even find the water tower on it, but those are the two other ones that I would think about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your insight. I definitely have noticed at cells where the parking can be quite busy. And
Right.
in the past, like when I would mountain bike on the trails, I used to park at the city pool
Right.
down there and ride through the neighborhood. And it's nice, you know, when you get off the trails too, just to kind of cruise through the neighborhood. But that's one way that I tried to at least reduce it by one vehicle at the time.
Right.
Hope Drive, I think that's definitely a good spot. I know a lot of people like to run that hill up there, and it would be nice if there was. I know you can park on the street, but it'd almost be nice if there was a way to have like a designated area
Well,
down
the city
there.
owns all the land, so they could do whatever they wished with it. My thought originally had been that, purchase the borrow pit area and
Yeah.
make that parking and that kind of stuff, and you wouldn't have to do anything else. But because it is kind of a steep hill as you go up toward the water tower.
That's
I've been on that road before.
it's
It's a little steep.
It's no joke, but I know some people that like to run it over and over again.
Yeah.
Run up,
Oh, I-
come down, run back up, and it's so yeah. That's one option. I don't know, like around on Avon, if there really is any room to add. Yes.
When Terry and I moved to Avon in 1983, wow, 40 years ago, yeah, in 1983, one of the reasons we moved to that house, in addition to that wonderful issue 1 state money that was available, was that you could walk right up the street to Sells Park. And at that point in time, and I'm not sure if you understand the background here that Rick is talking about, but all those things he was talking about when he was doing that was when he was with council, the rec board, and then mayor for 8 years. So he has a very extensive knowledge of background to this. But when we moved there in 1983, we could walk right up Avon, 2 blocks, and into the park. And the park was much smaller then. We talked about all the acquisitions, and it was basically a hiking, walking park. Take your dog, take your child, just walk through the small trails that were there. Well, over the last 40 years, not only has the park expanded, but the type of things happening in that park have expanded. We didn't have bikes back then. In fact, there was a period of time where biking was illegal on those trails. But now with the Baileys and mountain trails all over the country, more and more people are looking at that as an opportunity to mountain bike and so on and so forth. So if you were to look at the curve of people using Sells Park, it's gone like this. But unfortunately, from here to here, people coming to the park are now driving, which overflows that parking lot. Both sides of that last block of Avon are parked. I've actually walked up there and seen people parked in front of people's driveways, so they can't get out. And now it's extended down to the next block, which is the block that Andrea lives in. And unfortunately, not only do we have congestion with cars, but when people leave the park, it's downhill like the Soapbox Derby. And there's a curve there, and they're speeding, and there are so many cars on that street. It's become an unsafe situation. So to put more parking spots up there, which at the time seemed like a good idea, the feedback I'm getting since this has hit the paper and people are starting to pay attention to council and watching these meetings, which is a good thing, saying we can't take any more cars up here, whether they're parked on the street or in a parking lot. So I think Rick and FINA stands for the Far East Side Neighborhood Association. It's not a neighborhood association in the traditional sense where they're going to say, Andy, you can only paint your house yellow. It's really a friendliness association. Annual dues are $5, and we have over 100 people who pay every year to be a member of this to support it. They're concerned about putting more cars in that area, hence the need, we think, FINA thinks, I'm a paying member, not a board member, to look at additional entrance points, the ones that have been mentioned. So as we move forward, I think once we get the muck bag out of there, Aaron, and start talking about parking again, we may need to step back a little bit and see if maybe there are additional or alternative places to place cars for those who want to bring their bikes to hike up there.
I'm gonna just step in and say that I agree with you. I don't think more cars is ever really the solution, particularly when we're talking about rec spaces, but ways to advertise or make better known that there are more access points. I've run those trails. I've come down off behind Coad and thought, am I on someone's am I in someone's yard, right? There was no signage there. I kind of was like, oh, I'm not even sure if I'm where I'm supposed to be. I know, like, I'm on East State now. So something like that, or even just more coordination, say with Strouds, because there's plenty of access points out there to get those trails connect. And if that, I think, is maybe the ultimate goal, is a way to get more people utilizing the trails, more people familiar with the way the trails connect the various parts of Athens, as opposed to just blanketly saying, well, we need, more parking. Certainly the parking that exists at Cells, I think, could be a little bit better signage. It could be, altered in such a way, if we still want to cap it at, say, 8 cars in that main parking lot, or 10 there. I think maybe there's a way to look at the way that the parking is currently structured, that it's a little more common sense, but simply adding more, I agree, is not, I think, the way we want to go. I think there's ways to get more people on the trails without simply just adding spaces. I would love to see other places that I could go that had that, again, more signage, more obvious access to those trail, whether it's Hope or behind Coad there, or behind the credit union. I think that would be great.
You just jogged my memory from 3 days ago. Aaron, I'm not sure if you watch the city council meetings on Monday night, unless you can't sleep, they'll put you to sleep. But during our 2-hour meeting Monday night, one of the topics was the formation of a pedestrian and bike task force for the city of Athens. And it will either be a resolution or a 3-reading ordinance. I can't remember which way we were going to set it up. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be formed. I don't want to speak and vote for the other council members, but it seems to be fairly well received. That might be one of the first items, in conjunction with the rec department, that you work together to look at. But it's going to be a pedestrian and bike task force appointed by the president of city council. And that just began discussions Monday night, but if it goes resolution, it can be passed this coming Monday night and be ready to go.
Cool.
Those will be some good people to talk with.
Well, I appreciate the insight, Alan.
Yeah.
When I was thinking of parking up there as more or less to alleviate the cars on the road and people's blocking their driveways, but I imagine if you put parking spaces up there, that could still probably happen unless there was signage to prevent parking. So I still think also too, down by the city pool on most days, there's a lot of parking down there. That's also where the visitors center is and the community center, and it just seems like for people coming into town that want to try these trails, that's a pretty good place, because then also the bike path is there, and I feel like it's a safe place to leave your car.
Typically September to May,
Yeah, so
unless we're going to do winter swimming this year.
I mean,
It's not in the plans.
It may end up being, again, a matter of signage, folks who just simply don't realize that, 2 blocks up the street, there's access to this huge, as you say, like acres and acres of forest.
Out in the yard in that area and said, where's Sills Park? Somebody's driving.
Yep.
How do I get there?
Yeah.
Well, you make yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Well, again, I appreciate your being here and the information, and I think that what you achieved in the past is amazing for this area, because that's one of my favorite things about the Rock House Trail, is being able to overlook the East State area and know you're in the woods, so close yet so far away. So it's nice. All right. Does anybody else have anything that they wish to add for the insights?
We've been playing a lot of pickleball over at the community center, and thank you, they're awesome. I do have some concerns, and maybe it's been addressed in prior meetings, but from a safety perspective on both sides. So if you're closer to the community center, they dip, right? So you kind of feel like you're falling backwards. So I don't know from a leveling perspective if anyone's been paying attention there. And then on the other side, as you're closer to the bike path, if you hit it out, and we're not very good, so we hit it out a lot, right? There's a dip. And I worry that you're going to have people that sprain a lot of ankles, perhaps, and that could become from a safety perspective. I noticed that, but I'm always thinking risk in my head. That's my background. So, but I was just thinking there is a dip, so I don't know if you want to pour more dirt or however that works. But if somebody wants to walk back there, yeah.
We'll definitely look at it. You know that those courts are going to be fenced in
Yes.
eventually. Okay.
Okay, but I'm just saying for now, I was just thinking
Gotcha.
like that, but for what that's worth.
Definitely something we need to look into. No one else has said anything yet, but
But we've only been playing
be-
for 2 weeks. Very new to
Would
this.
it-
But again, I walk around all the time.
Would it be
play?
beyond where the fence would go?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
So is it off the?
It's right.
the
right on
concrete?
the right off the concrete. Right on the concrete. So
Okay.
there would be fence right at the end of the concrete. So then that would be. Okay, I got to get better at the game then. Okay.
The part with that fence, you don't have to chase those balls anymore.
No.
we will look
But
at that.
for what that's worth, I just noticed the dip. It was.
Yeah, definitely.
So. But they're great. Thank you.
Good. Glad you're playing on it.
They're gonna paint those here in the coming weeks?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I just encourage everybody to keep this part in mind for the next month as well. Moving forward, it's a good way to get feedback from the community and interact. So, moving on to our continuing business. First, we have the Put People First relocation discussion, and I know since Catherine Ann's not here, that's probably something I feel like we would talk about more next month. But Alan, I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to, any insight on this, or?
I'm no attorney, but the way I read the ordinance, that it needs to be located up there on the ridges, the way I read it. Might want to send that ordinance to the law director for her interpretation. But the way, because I know you were talking about maybe down behind, where the current tennis courts are. But when I went home and read the ordinance, the way I read it, it had to be up on the ridges area. You might want to double check that before you get too far down the road.
That's actually kind of how I thought as well from what I saw. So I was curious then where that area might be. Is it just further up?
Yeah, it
or-
was just kind of open-ended as to where. But
Okay.
That's, again, that's where. So yeah, maybe shoot that over to Lisa Elias and ask for her interpretation.
Okay.
I'd hate for you to put a lot of time and effort into possibly locating something where it couldn't be. The other side of that is the farmer's market has talked about possibly extending their operation back toward the river in that area. So a lot of moving parts.
That's right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. The next, Richland Avenue Park, the new inclusive playground. What I wanted to add to this conversation, because again, I think this will also we'll be moving forward talking about it. But recently, I was in Oregon and went to it was a pretty new playground, and it had some of these structures that we had looked at. And I just wanted to say, it was really great. There was a lot of kids there, felt safe, but it had probably the main attraction was a big rope structure. So it had a lot of different ropes up high. So my daughters were up at the top, and then they were playing with a younger kid, and he was enjoying the bottom, as you can walk along there. So I'm sure that is one of the more expensive features. The one that looked kind of like a turtle, that was in the schematic that we saw, didn't really get many kids on it from what I saw. So, and then there was a pretty fun swing that was a round platform, you know, and it was used a lot. But the only thing about that was there was like a few kids at a time. But probably one of the simplest things was they had a disc that was about this big around. And my daughters just sat in it and they had me spin it, and they loved it. And it was like, it took up hardly any space, and they just had a great time. So I thought that that was a good option. And they had a Braille interpretation sign, so I thought that that was, you know, we have been talking about the core communication, and I thought that's excellent. And stuff like that I think is great, because it allowed, you know, my daughters and I had talked about it, and
That's really cool.
you know, they told me what they had learned in school about it, and we were, so I think that that was a good experience. It's interesting because at the last meeting you mentioned things about different age kids, and so we're in the 10-year-old zone just about, but it was neat to see the younger kids and how they were
And
remembering.
that's some of the feedback that I've gotten from folks about updating that section of Richland Avenue, is that it is at least supposed to be for like the 2 to 5-year-old, which I mean, my 5-year-old would love a ropes course, but that's, you know, depending on the size and the scope of it, that might be beyond. That might be an update for the larger part of Richland going forward. But I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from folks with younger kids who would like to see updated, fancier stuff, things like those spinning discs, stuff that's beyond simply like a swing, a slide. There is more sort of physical things that 2 to 5-year-olds can do. So that would be really cool to see something like that. Again, yeah, the feedback I've gotten has just been, yes, we would like to see something, you know, some update to that section of the park.
I have a question for Annie and Aaron, because you both are in the business. We just got back from Colorado. You mentioned Oregon, Daniel. 10 years ago, we were in Paris. We seem to have, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my personal opinion, we seem to have, in much of America, kid-proofed playgrounds. That they're not active playgrounds. Yet in some parts of the U.S., Oregon, Colorado, we saw some playgrounds just last month that are very, very active playgrounds. Has the fear of lawsuits, has liability become such a big issue that we get stuck with what I'll call static playgrounds? That kind of, and this is not a criticism by any means, it's an observation. The kind of stuff that we saw in those 3 options in the survey. I have a very active 9-year-old granddaughter, but when she was 3, she'd have looked at those things and headed for the big kids' playground. So is that kind of the philosophy that we're faced now in America, that we have to have these safe, sanitized, could be anywhere playgrounds, as opposed to the active playgrounds we see in some states and other countries?
Well, I mean, I'll just give my input here. I think that's why the survey is out, like to get, like we just put out some options. And then what we want is the people that are filling out the surveys to tell us like, no, I don't like that, or hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we get a disc or something? So it's just like a framework for us to then get people to tell us what they want and what would be fun for their kids and all that. It is like you said, it's a 2 to 5-year-old playground. So there is going to be, I know when my kids were a lot younger, when they're 2 to 5, I felt like I was constantly like spotting them everywhere we went on a playground. And So like, I know there's some of that concern of having higher up things or things where you can't see your kids when you're playing. And then also just like, it's an inclusive, it's supposed to be an inclusive playground, so it should be pretty accessible for maybe people that have mobility or something issues. So, I think the survey will help us maybe mold a playground into something that the community wants. We were just trying to give some like visual ideas of like, hey, this is something that we could do. Maybe you don't like this spinny thing, let's take that out and let's put in this really cool swing or something, or climber thing. So that's where the survey is really helping us. And right now, as of today, I saw that we had over 448 responses on that.
Wow.
That's great.
So people are definitely giving their input, and I read through some of it, and it's all really good stuff for us to do. Now the hardest part's going to be like which ones get the space. So and that survey is supposed to stay open until September 1st, so we still have half a month to get more input on it. And I know that Catherine is really hopeful that this committee can help kind of weed through it and rank things so that we can move forward with getting this playground going. We're excited about it.
Where's the money coming from?
I believe it's, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's part of levy money that we've gotten, tax money.
Okay, so yes, general fund money then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is city money, not a grant money.
No, we are not opposed to grant money, but right now we're going with what we have funding for right now. And if we can find a grant to help add to that money or help supplement it, then that's certainly something we would consider. But right now we're just kind of going off of, here's how much money we have. Let's see what we can do right now to improve this area.
I took the survey and I saw the figure, but I can't remember. How much is it again?
Ooh,
200,000, I
yeah,
believe, is the current budget.
200,000.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on that? Okay, let's move to the next one. Augmentative or alternative communication.
I can
Do we
just
want to-
chime in real quick and say that I did get a chance to meet with Catherine Ann one-on-one and connected her with the couple of the outside resources, the folks who are real excited to help put those in, and it's just kind of a matter of starting. But as Catherine and I talked a little bit, that it might be one of those things that is kind of the moving parts might be best started after the summer. Summer is a busy time to start something brand new from scratch, but once things kind of slow down a little bit, because this is also something where the signs could be built and just stored until the weather is nice enough to take in and put them in. So it's not something that necessarily has to happen immediately, but we are. Yeah, but we're
These are
moving forward.
those interactive boards that you had
Yes,
brought with
yeah,
you
yeah,
a few meetings ago.
the ones with the pictures on it.
Okay.
And also to speak to what Daniel said about the boards that have the sign language or the braille on them. We were just at another playground out of state as well, and one side had the picture boards and the other side was the hand alphabets with the brailles on it. So it's one of those two where you can do a lot with the space there to really make it inclusive in that way. So, yeah.
That's great, and that's what I noticed too with the Braille one I saw was there was the whole other side that was blank.
Yeah.
And it was available for something else, so thank you for keeping that moving, and I think that sounds like a great idea, something over the fall and winter, and then in the spring when everybody's excited to be out, that would be a good time.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds great.
okay. And then moving on to the master plan ad hoc committee. I know I had been unable to be at your meeting, but is there anything that you wanted to add on that?
I don't think so. Erin, I think we're just sort of moving. We decided on some of the questions for the questionnaire, and
Yeah.
we're going to do a Google
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
Once the questions, we decide on like exactly what task, the plan was to kind of start small, get the initial interest, and then invest more specifics into it. Once that gets done, then we can put it up and get it out there. I think it's an excellent thing to add.
Yeah, that's on. And you said it's going to be on Google.
Yeah, it'll be like
Okay.
sort of how our Richland Avenue playground survey is set up, so that people can just click a link, answer a few questions. We can see the responses and move on.
And I think everyone who was at the meeting, Andrea, myself, Catherine, and Aaron, are looking forward to not just getting the feedback from the survey, but also then going out to like the Far East, and like actually speaking to people, having like town hall meetings or just Q&A, ask me anything sessions where folks can come in and actually tell us what they want, as opposed to, because I mean, a survey, and I think it's reflected in the meeting we had, you can get really into the weeds with how to word this question, what kind of feedback are we going to get for this particular question, are we limiting ourselves in some way? But after this initial push for some data, I don't myself personally, but I think everyone is excited to actually talk to folks about what they would like to see in this new version of the master plan.
Yes.
One, I don't know if it's a suggestion or an observation. Far East Side Neighbor Association, 4 times a year, does a newsletter. And in this last newsletter, we included a survey. People had a variety of ways to complete it. One was simply complete the survey and send it in electronically. One was to complete the survey, email it to me as the city council representative. And the third way is it was a one-page survey to actually fill out the survey, and Keith Chapman, Chapman Jewelers uptown here, built a little box, put it on a stake in his front yard, and you could put it in the box. We got an inordinate number of people who actually did the survey, wrote their comments, and put it in the box. Where I'm going with this is, would it be possible at the rec center, on the counter there somewhere or whatever, to have a paper option for those who either can't or just don't do electronic surveys?
That's a great idea.
The other reason we did it, that we wanted to control it. When I say control it, we actually, and I'm not saying you have to do this, because some people are reluctant to do this, we actually had people write their name and their address, because we wanted to make sure this information was coming from legitimate people. I took a survey about a year ago here in the city, just for fun, decided to take it a second time, and I was able to. I said, well, I'm gonna do it one more time, and then I'm gonna email the people doing the survey and let them know, throw 2 of these out. But sometimes electronic surveys, if you don't protect them, somebody can get on there and really, as you well know, skew your data. But yeah, these are actual paper forms, and I think we're close to 50 people out of a neighborhood of 300 houses that have actually put a paper thing in the box.
And Aaron, I know we had talked in the meeting about ways to get more contact information for people who might want to be contacted personally, to sit on, to be part of focus groups or something, and having, even if it was just voluntary, to give their contact info on a paper sheet like that if they are interested in, filling out further surveys. That could be really useful.
Yeah.
All right, great. Bylaws draft update. I don't really have much to update. I think I let you guys know, so that something that again, I'd like to get it moving along, so I will be on the forefront of that.
I got your email, we'll get that scheduled.
Okay, sounds good.
Are you thinking at the September meeting, maybe having something to, I think we'll probably have more than enough, like folks will be here to do a vote on.
Yes,
Okay.
I would like to start considering that.
Okay.
So,
Just to let you know, and we have confirmed this with Lisa Eliason, anything that changes code has to come to council. But anything's procedural in nature, or just, everyday operation that doesn't change the code, no problem, that's yours to shape.
moving along to the APR staff report.
Great. I've got a lot of updates. Our department is trucking along, let me tell you. It's been a great summer, a great year overall for our department, so it's exciting to see all the stuff we're doing and the things coming down the pike for us. So some project updates. The skate park repairs, we're hoping to get that started mid-September because Skate Jam will be here at the end of September, so we want to make sure it looks nice for that event coming through. The Sells Park muck removal, we're still working on a plan. I know Kathleen had talked with Councilperson Swank about figuring out a way we can get it removed. Right now, we're about 2 months out from when they were done with it, and if you go up there and you see that bag, it's still pretty wet. So we still got a little while before we're at a point where we could probably cut it open and start giving out some of that matter. But certainly exciting and is drawing a lot of attention. So
That's right.
I'm anxious to see how everyone's gardens look next year because I'm sure the muck will do wonderful things. Something that Catherine Ann would like, so Catherine Ann right now is at director's school this week. And when we check in, she's just super excited and she's going to come back with a lot of wonderful things to help our department, fall into these more trending routes that other parks departments does. So she's super excited. And she's also enjoying her time in Chicago. And we miss her, but I'm glad that she's able to get to that. But while talking, she did want me to bring up for us to talk about the purchase agreement for the Southside Park, that we had talked about, the ball field up there at the Ridges and the putt-putt and all that. The deal that I'm understanding is we've got some options, and this is some stuff for this committee to kind of talk through and come up with their thoughts. The way I understand it is they could just pay us the $200,000, or we could get acreage somewhere. Just kind of looking at where we're going and where we were with changes coming through. The solar array over at the East Side Dog Park took a little bit of our green space. And then them taking the putt-putt and the dog and the ball field there at Southside Park is more green space we've lost. So in my personal opinion, acreage might be the thing for us to consider, just because then we're definitely adding green space back to the city ownership, and we can figure out ways to use it, whether it's like mostly forested land that we could create trail systems on or something with, the Baileys being as big as it is. Why not, take onto that? Or we just take the money and use it towards other developments. But this is something that Catherine Ann wanted me to make sure that you were aware of so that you guys can start the conversation of your opinions, thoughts, weigh them out, what we think might not be what the community might want. But it's exciting. I mean, it's sad to see part of our space go, but to have potential options for growth somewhere else that we haven't had, that's just kind of a new look on part of this department. Some community events, engagements that we got going on tonight, right now, is a concert in our park. It's the third Thursday. It's our last one for the year. So that's exciting. After we're done here, I'll be going there to check that out. Tomorrow night, we do have our last movie in the park. We are showing Super Mario Brothers, the new movie, so we're excited and hope that we get a big turnout. We'll have Rockin' Reggie there DJing, and so I'm sure it will be a good time. So if you guys want, you should bring a chair, a blanket, snacks, and come watch a movie tomorrow night with us. Back on August 1st, we had National Night Out, which is a really cool program. We hadn't done that before, but it's the area police forces coming in, so like APD, OU police, I believe Sheriff's Department was there and all that. And we did it at the pool, and everybody just kind of, it was a free swim for the public, some of the police officers swam with the kids, raced down the slides, did big splashes off the diving boards. So it was really well attended, and I think it was a great thing, and we're looking forward to doing it again next year. So even bigger, better opportunities for a positive event in our community. So the pool, we are right now in our 4th swim lessons, and I think we got one more week of it, and we would have successfully done 4 swim lessons. Just about every class was just about maxed out on kids this whole summer. So that's a lot of kids learning to be safe in the water and protect themselves. So that is awesome. As we're winding down with the season, we're losing some of our college student lifeguards and staff to go on to wherever they're attending college or getting ready for classes here. Our high schoolers that are working, so we're having to adjust our hours starting Monday. We did just push out all that through social media and on our website, and we've got them placed at the pool and at the community center for people to pick up to know when will the pool be open. Brianna has done a great job managing the pool this summer, and she has just really impressed us with how well she's managed things, and she's just continuing to manage it even doing nursing school. So she's just been great, and we're so lucky to have her. Programming wise, youth fall soccer should be starting up here at the end of this month. They'll start practicing. Childcare, summer camp ended. That was a huge success this summer. No major issues or anything. Everyone had a good time. It was great. We opened up pre-K registration. We've hired a pre-K teacher that we're super excited about. Before and after care is getting ready to begin, and we're looking at starting Wee Wigglers programming. I think it's in September is when that starts back up. So that's fun. Fitness classes, fall programming, the guide has been out. Those will start after Labor Day. We do have some new classes. We have some pre-K tumbling classes bringing in, a cheerleading class, ballroom dance for couples or individuals that we're going to do at Arts West. So it'll be a new place that we haven't done that kind of programming before. So we're excited about that to bring through. Still collaborating with adult soccer, so their fall season will start up, I believe it's just after Labor Day as well. Our Arts West location, we're starting to get some more rentals in. We have kind of changed some things up on our musical lending library, in that you don't have to be a member to check out an instrument. We just had an intern complete her time with us, and she just focused right on the musical lending library, and she went through every single instrument we have and gave us some suggestions on what needs fixed, what this instrument needs, is this rentable, is it not in great shape. Like it's super thorough list of the instruments that we have. So be on the lookout for that push for musical lending library to go out, because I know right now a lot of middle schoolers are looking at trying instruments for band, and I know we do have a couple instruments that might be helpful for them to try the year out with, like a saxophone or a trumpet. So we're just trying to get it all squared away, so that way it'll be a very easy transition for renting out and tracking it so that we don't lose any instruments. Parks, we're still to be determined on when our new to us playground will be put in at the West State Street Park. Finally, after many months, our playground equipment for the community center playground, the broken slides, were delivered yesterday. So we're super excited about that, but now we gotta wait until the company can come install them. Other fun fact with that though, part of that equipment, Daniel, you'll be happy to hear, is one of those seats that you sit on and it just spins. So it'd be very similar to the disc. So you gotta bring your daughters out to ride on that and get them sick. and then, enjoy this park.
Yeah, it didn't last long, but they.
Yeah, I don't think I could last long on a spinning thing. So that's in our possession now, and it all looks great, and it's so overdue. So we're excited to have it. Let's see. Catherine Ann has been working still on like an annual pond management maintenance plan for Sells Park. I mean, we invested a lot of money in getting this muck sucked, so now we need to work on a more yearly plan to like maintain it and to continue getting that pond in good shape for people to really enjoy. Other projects ongoing, scheduled, or completed. The tennis courts, paving, done. We're just waiting on Total Tennis to apply the painted surface, which will be late summer, fall, whenever they can get there. After surface paint is complete, then the fencing will be installed, then we'll get benches in there, and we'll also work on the sidewalk up to the tennis courts. So if you haven't had a chance to go over there lately, it is nice, and we're just waiting for all the elements to start falling into place now. Same with pickleball. We are waiting for Total Tennis to come apply the painted surface again, late summer, fall. They're probably going to try to do it so that they can do both in the same run, so they're not here and back, here and back. We do see a lot of people using those courts right now, which is fun. I know every time me or Catherine or anyone else up in the offices see people playing, we're always like, oh, they're playing pickleball. So it's just really neat to see all the use. And I mean, the kids in summer camp got to go play on it, and they loved it. So it's just really cool. It is so cool to see all the use on those pickleball courts.
Out of curiosity, on the pickleball courts, do you have access to, or are you able to like rent out or check out pickleball paddles and balls and things from in the community center?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah, we have, I don't know how many paddles, we have a lot of paddles. Now, they're not the ones that, like, if you go to a competition, people may not say, oh, that's not competition grade. But we've got plenty of paddles, we've got a lot of pickleballs. You just come in and ask to borrow them. We don't leave them outside for fear of losing them. But we do have a plethora indoors.
And is there a reservation process, or, because we have a group that we go play at the tennis center?
Yeah,
And
there is no
we can-
reservation. It's first come, first serve.
Okay.
I do know that there is a group of avid pickleball players that have created some kind of like, hey, I'm looking for a partner to play with, kind of meetup app or website for scheduling that. But as far as our courts go, it's just whoever shows up there first gets to play first. So.
And then is it a rotation process from there, or can you, if you have a group that you come with and you want to play for an hour?
You just play for however long you would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed responses to that.
Yeah,
so-
we're not controlling the play or anything.
Okay.
It is completely open. So if you're getting word that there's controlled, there's not on our end.
Okay. And it appears to be controlled by the people that are playing.
Could be.
So you're trying to kick me off, is that what you're gonna do?
No, it's nice that you can actually reserve and have or use of courts for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is, through the tennis center, I guess,
Yeah.
for lack of better description, but that's why I asked.
That may be something that we get to, once we get it more finished. And maybe it's just one court that we reserve time on. So you know for sure you can reserve time and then the rest be open play or something. So we tried doing that a little bit during COVID with indoor play. And it worked out okay until you've got, like, sometimes there's some greedy pickleball players that want every day, every hour to play. And that's fine. It's just hard for us to regulate. It's easier to do first come, first serve with what we've got right now.
Okay.
But it's certainly something that we can work through if there's someplace else that does it, that we could mimic and use those policies would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, West State Street Park, the soccer fields that are there off of the driving range. We're still waiting on like the lease agreement, I know that we need to look at getting some netting up. That's part of it. But in the meantime, we've been adding some more dirt, moving dirt around. Over the summer, late spring, you know, they did the drain work. And our guys have been seeding, or have seeded and plan to seed more and aerate more when you're supposed to during what part of year, I don't know. But I know that's in the works.
Aaron,
Yes.
for what it's worth, and I know our guys do a great job, if there's any way you can steal some expertise from the new person they hired at OU in charge of the golf course,
Oh, yeah, great idea.
it has gone from, on a scale of 1 to 10, a -3 to an 8
Wow.
in 5 months. You don't even know you're on the same course. Remarkable job. He obviously understands turf. And I don't know, you know, you can work something out with him or not, but he's an expert.
We'll definitely look
Absolute
into
expert. I mean, I'll tell you how bad it was. I didn't, for the first time in 35 years of not playing in the OU Golf League, that's how bad the course was in March and April.
In that short of time, he's flipped it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll definitely reach out to him, see if he could share some of his knowledge.
yeah.
I'm sure we could.
He's right here in town.
Nice. Thanks for that, Alan. Riparian project, still working on the invasive control. It still looks pretty good. Still has some work to do, but still a fun area that I think we could start doing some programming here before too long. Upcoming projects, still working on a solution for the new West State Street restroom facilities. We're waiting an update on the Alco canoe inlet, or put in. Camp Rotan, we know that we need to rebuild stairs. And Sells Park, you know, we need to work out a plan for extending the ADA concrete path and adding a dock or observation deck in that area. So, like I said, we're excited with all the stuff happening. And I hope the community is too, and I hope they see it because there's a lot of wheels rolling right now, and it's fun.
Any update on hiring?
Oh yeah, hiring. Oh my gracious. So Arts West, our program specialists of arts, programming, and education. We had the application set up. We got a lot of applications. We had the civil service exam. A lot of people showed up for that, thankfully. And so right now we're just waiting on the results. So then that way we can start doing interviews. So we're excited. There's got to be a good amount of people that we can interview and see how they fit with the department and where we want to go. Yeah. That's all I got.
I got a couple questions for you.
Great.
If you don't mind. You mentioned skate jam.
Yeah.
What's the date of that? It's the end of September, you said?
Yeah, I want to say September 30th.
So it's a little later than
Yeah.
it had been in the past?
Yeah.
Okay. The other, oh. When we were talking about the land and the ridges,
Yeah.
what amount, do you know offhand what amount of acreage?
I'm
you're
not
talking about?
100%. I know what they are getting in this deal, I think, is between 5 and 7 acres. So it'd probably be the equivalent to that
Okay.
somewhere else.
And they're just going off of like what the cost is right now on
Would be my
acreage?
guess.
I was just curious because I do know a lot of people like to run and hike around the ridges, especially when the weather has been more wet. I
Yeah.
think that it's a better option than running on trails.
Yep. I know
Yeah.
ROTC uses that space currently for their training, so I'm not sure how that will work out, but yeah.
I tend to agree with you, what you're saying about how we are losing green spaces in some places, and it's nice to, have maybe another option in land. So I look forward to more conversation about that.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice when we get some options of like this space or this space, Because right now in our head, you were probably thinking like the most perfect space, and maybe it's going to be some work, but we just need to have an open vision of like what could it be.
Well, I think that's right, and keeping in mind that trail aspect of it too. I mean, that could be a way to.
Yeah, it would be low maintenance right off the cuff if it was like a forested space. Like it's not acres that we're mowing. It's just maintaining like some trail stuff. So
Okay. The last one that I had was I was just curious about the riparian area. You said the invasive.
yeah, we're still
work.
working on that, and then also I forgot to mention too, our intern Aiden is working on some like signage that we can put in that area to like educate people on just what is the riparian area and what are we trying to do in this space. So
Do you know, by chance, what's happening? Like what method of or?
I don't know right now.
Okay.
But I can certainly find out and let you know, like
Okay,
shoot you an
yeah.
email or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all I had. You guys have any?
It is evident you're passionate about your job, so thank you for
Oh
everything
no,
that you're
I
doing.
hope everyone's excited about
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be, right?
Yeah.
I'm all about green space, but I'm also thinking money-wise, like, is there an option to get more access to Sales Park and other things, right? As we're talking about that, perhaps we could work on something there, right?
Yeah.
Especially talking about the safety of cars coming down the street and everything, right? Safety first. But
Yeah, that's a good,
thanks for all the updates.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll echo a little bit what Alan said too, and just making sure, you know, the parameters, where is the land? Like if
Yeah.
we're limited to what land we can choose from, or if it's chosen for us, and then same thing with the funds, if those funds are given to us to use at our discretion, or if it's funds to exclusively put in another, which is not bad,
yeah.
to have that, you know, to move that that space somewhere else, but just making sure that it's pretty transparent about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And also just a thank you to keep for all of you for keeping the pool open
Yeah.
as long as you are. A couple of our favorite pools that when we travel that we go to, many of them are just closed. Like the schools open again, and their last weekend was last weekend, like not even modified hours. And so I know that you all are putting in a lot of work to stay at least partially open through Labor Day, and we really appreciate it. Sometimes I think it's easy to forget kind of how lucky we are that we get that.
Yeah.
to use
Anytime
as
you
long as
stop
we
by
do.
the pool though, let those staff know that you're glad that they're there, because that, I mean, we're open because of them, so it's great.
Yeah. All right. Yes, thank you
Yeah.
for the report and for all the great work you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. With that, let's. Only announcement I have is our next meeting will be September 21st, same time and place. If anybody else has anything, I'd say we've done a good job wrapping up everything for this month.
Thank you.
Anybody want to?
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
A motion.
All right. I'll second that.
Everybody likes
And thank you, Stuart.